Hey everyone, welcome back to another great episode of Making It Fun. I am your host, Rob Appell from Michael Miller Fabrics, and today's project is so easy, I just got a little head start. I've been waiting for you. Come on! That is right. Today's project is so simple that I basically just got a little teeny head start. We are going to do a really fun drawstring patchwork bag. You know, I've been thinking about accessories, especially for that back to school time right now. And so this is a really easy one. It is a great way to use up your 5x5 packs. And that's the other reason I chose this project. So today's format for the show, we will be making the project together. You can see I've just done a few pieces while you were not looking. I want to do a fun show and tell today. I want to talk a lot about the Strata fabrics, the beautiful textures from Michael Miller, but we also have this incredible new line of batiks that are coming out, and they're just gorgeous. And it kind of plays into one of our prizes at the end of the show. So we're going to do our show and tell. We're going to do our project. After that, we're going to do a fun prize. If you've never seen a Making It Fun episode, at the end of the show, I read a mystery question, and then you all have a few days to answer the mystery question in the comments below here. And then I'm going to pick one lucky winner. I will send one lucky winner all three colors, a few pieces of each of the five, or I should say a few of the 5x5 bundles, because you'll need at least two to make our bag today. I'm going to also send the quilt shop of your choice, whoever our winner is, I'm going to send them some Strata fabrics. But this is really, really cool. When I was in Sisters back in July, my dear friend Ann Shaw Quilting Designs, has done some fantastic quilts over the last several years. Now, they're basically paper piece projects. She's giving one of our lucky winners a pattern, and the shop she's going to give some patterns to as well. So like I said, they're super easy, they're super fun, they're basic paper piecing, but when I saw these patterns, I thought to myself, man, this would be absolutely a perfect segue to talk about the beautiful textures we have at Michael Miller and our batiks coming together. Because as you see this awesome rooster on Ann's pattern, you can see here that she's used a variety of fabrics, mostly kind of like these textured pieces like this, and then she's used the batik to create the pop. So Strata is a multi-print collection coming in multiple colorways. I'm starting to show you the graphite here, and you can see across the board, maybe even better if I do like this. It's an incredible, incredible fabric line, lots of beautiful pieces and textures that basically come shade by shade by shade. So this is the graphite. I showed this a few weeks ago on the show. Today I'm working with the basil colorway, which I like. It's a little bit more bright, punchy, poppy in color. Look at those gorgeous pieces like that. Oh no, I can see that I should have ironed that before I opened it up on camera. We're just gonna tuck that away real quick. And then the aubergine colorway I'm also using in today's sample, and you can see it's kind of a medium tones, but it also has those nice deep purples, jewel tones in there that I'm really excited about. And you can see over here by Jerry Garcia, not a minor, but yes, a wonderful doll from Jerry Garcia. You can see the way the colors are coming together beautifully. Now those textures, I'm just fumbling around everywhere. Those textures are perfect for all kinds of things. You know I love making landscape quilts. You know I love making freestyle quilts. A lot of applique work, and so I'm always looking for textures, especially in my landscapes, where I can put together things that will look like rock and sea, water, trees, branches. And what I find is when we're looking at textures like this, what I love to be able to do is blend a variety of shades on top of each other, so I get real perspective, real shadowing, more of a three-dimensional effect in my landscape style quilting. So that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this incredible Strata line from Michael Miller, is the ability for me to work with these in a variety of projects is really cool. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I am a terrible paper piecer, but Ann's projects are based on paper piecing, and they're wonderful in the way that they would use those textures, as well as they're going to use the big punchy bright batiks. So Michael Miller Fabrics over the last couple seasons has done two lines of batiks. The marine batiks are just fabulous. Really fun, really bright. And these ones have already shipped out to the shops. Now these ones here are starting to ship right now, and these are what are considered the tropical batiks. And be patient, in a second I'll thumb through a few of these. I just wanted you to see the wonderful intensity of the color we have, the depth, and of course because I talk about textures all the time. And when it comes to batik, finding a good traditional standardized batik that I can use over and over again, like these swirls, is awesome. And why do I say that? Because a lot of times I'll use a batik on the back of a project, and when I'm not sure how to machine quilt, I can machine quilt from the back utilizing the swirls in the motif in the batik. It's a nice organic feel, not super structured, but it really brings a beautiful representation of all of the fabrics back to life and gives me kind of a good philosophy in my machine quilting for the front. Anyways, I could talk about that all day, but I'd much rather look at this. I gotta show you this side. Surfboards, right? Does it get any better? I love to surf. Just got a new surfboard. I've been surfing a ton. Oh, don't tell my boss because he thinks I'm working right now. So at any rate, I've got all of these beautiful surfboards. This is a really fun one. I haven't seen something like this in an awful long time, and I certainly like this an awful lot. So yes, the surfboards are great. The palm trees, the hibiscus, our big monstera leaf, these are all radical, beautiful batiks. And if you have never worked with batik, there's a couple of little things I want to point out real quick, and then we're going to move into the project. Batiks are generally a denser thread count or a higher thread count, more strong structure. Again, great for applique because it won't unravel. The other reason we love batiks is you just get so much depth and saturation. These are beautiful, and as I can see, this would cut up into a nice, big, beautiful square for like a real easy theme quilt, easy sashings, easy borders. And what I love to use is batik next to something like cotton couture because I like the sheen and organic modeled nature of the batik against the solid nature of our cotton couture, and then you get a little bit more of a textural difference as well, and it just makes for excitement in quilting. And I assume that's why you're here today, because we haven't done the prizes yet, so you're still here for the excitement in quilting. So let's get into the project, the excitement in quilting and or bag making today. Let me just take a moment, tidy these up. Excellent. I will take better care of those in a little while. Now, follow me. We are going to jump onto the design wall real quick. And hopefully you can see real quick, we're going to also use our fabulous gingham for our liners and our drawstring. So I've got those prepped out. But what I really want to talk about is I've used 40. I have a 4x10 layout using the two different colors, the basil and the aubergine, here and putting together my patchwork. Now, if you're thinking about this as basic patchwork construction, I'm going to give you some of those steps as well. So you could basically look at this as making a quilt top or the exterior of a bag is what I'm really trying to say. Now, like I said last night, I got a little ahead of schedule and I went ahead and laid out randomly all of the pieces, just trying to keep kind of green family, blue family, purple family in order, and then also trying not to have a lot of the exact same print touching in too many different spots. So I, yes, have them near each other, but I don't have them always touching each other and splashing the light pieces around for variety. Then as we went ahead and did our patchwork, one of the things I really did is I made sure after I stitched all of the squares together off the ironing board, I intentionally ironed one row in one direction, one row in the opposite direction of my seam allowances, so that as I get ready to build out the rest of my project here, it's going to be really simple to just go ahead and nest those seams at the sewing machine. And because I've already joined these first 3 rows together, last I need to do is just simply add on my 4th row, making this 40 piece the actual construction of the outside of my bag. So 4 across, 10 down. And now as I get ready to go to the machine, I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance for all my patchwork. I'm going to backstitch at the beginning of the seam. And really all I'm doing now is just making sure that I'm doing what's called nesting the seams. Here you see I've just gone ahead and held those seam allowances together. And I just do that at each union. I double check and I let it head right into the sewing machine. we're going to backstitch at the bottom there. And as we're pressing, I'm just lifting up on the area or the row I just added on, allowing that to push over ever so nicely. And by nesting those squares as I go, it really allows for really nice, accurate patchwork. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, if you're brand new to patchwork quilting, this is technically a patchwork quilt top. It's a little narrow. Maybe you'd call it a table runner or just the start of something fantastic. But yes, this is basically square by square, and I know I went kind of quickly, but what I was trying to point out here is that the seams are constantly running in opposite directions, and that helps me not only line up the squares from the top side as I'm sewing it back together, but it also reduces the bulk when I get ready if I were to machine quilt this. Now we're going to turn this whole piece folded into the outside of our bag, so we do need to make our liner, and as I mentioned earlier, our liner is going to be awesome. It's going to be the gingham from Michael Miller, and we are cutting this from the bolt. So you'll need 7/8 for the entire project. And I am following along on a really cool pattern by Susan Emery. That's where all of this information is coming. And so basically right now, this piece should be 18.5 by 45.5 inches. So we're going to build this liner here to match up to that. And in order to do that, what I have is 18.5-inch wide pieces by 23 inches. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch them right sides together along that shorter side, that 18.5-inch side, to make this up to the 45.5 we need. Because 2 times 23 is 46 minus our quilting math of the 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we are using 1/4 inches right now. And a back stitch. Okay, and technically there, that was awfully easy. Our liner is made. Let's go ahead and take a second and just press that seam. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and join our liner with the outside of our bag, and we're going to do this right sides together completely and just leave ourselves a few inches along one of the sides to send ourselves back out. We're going to make our trap door. So we're just going to line these up. Ever so nicely like that. Excellent. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to come down. I'm just going to use a square as my door. So I'm going to basically start right on the other side of the seam allowance, because this will be hand stitched closed. Okay, so I've already gone all the way around the bag, and I'm just coming into that last, let's call it 8 inches, 10 inches. I'm almost within 5 inches now. I've just crossed over that other seam, and I'm going to go ahead and lock that down and bring this out so that basically I have a trap door right here between the patchwork of this one square, like yay. I have all my fabrics that were right sides together, so all going well, I should be able to grab this and start to turn right sides back out. Now, you may have wanted to dog ear or nip those corners for a nice crisp corner. You can do that. But we're going to fold the corners over at the end actually to make our casing. So I don't know that it's all that important. Like I said, I am making this bag brand new. I've never done it either. Oh, I sure love the way the lining looks together though. This was a great recommendation, and my friend Susan said, "You got this?" And I said, "Great, because I'm leaving town real soon. I get to go to Wisconsin and Ohio to show some fabric lines and stuff, and so I needed a real fun project that I could start and finish in just a day, and video and all of that. So that's why the other reason I chose this bag." And bags are such fun and easy projects to do, but they actually teach us a lot. We're gonna do box corners here in a second. You know, like I said, you could do all kinds of different design elements just within this one concept alone. So there's a lot of fun things for me as an educator and designer to play with when it comes to the bag process. Now, here is our opening. And we really could hand stitch this closed, but I'm going to cheat a little bit. You should hand stitch it, but I'm just going to, because I know that that's going to actually be in the seam allowance on the inside of the bag. I'm going to hit it with an iron to make sure it's nice and crisp there. And I'm just going to literally bring it over to my machine, because I do everything by machine that I can. And I'm going to do one little top stitch. Of course, I could top stitch the whole bag, and I considered that when I read the instructions, but none of that will be seen either. So I'm not going to take the time to do that. What I am going to take the time to do is fold this wonderful bag up just like this. And I'm doing technically right sides together, or the patchwork together, because now we're going to stitch our liner. We're going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance now, and we're going to want to mark our edges 4.5 inches from the top, because we're not going to sew all the way up. We're going to end up folding this back down like this to make this wonderful casing. But so I want to sew all the way up into this area though. So let's take a couple of seconds, get a few straight pins and a ruler. So folding off my bottom seam, I'm going to come up and I'm going to stop at 4.5 inches down from the top. 4.5 inches down from the top. Same on the other side. And now we're just going to adjust our edge guide out to the 1/2 inch mark. Here's my pin again. Let's start at that bottom corner with our 1/2 inch seam allowance to keep everything moving upward accurately and beautiful. Back stitch at the bottom. As you approach your pin, keep your eye on your spot, pop it out. Okay, and back stitch again. Again, we want to fold under to that seam allowance. Top stitch. Because that'll be the finished edge of the casing. Back stitch. Do it again. Just to control that, and back stitch. Okay, bag is basically all but finished. Now all we need to do is go right sides. Oops, before I say that, and I totally told you a second ago, we were gonna make box corners. I get all excited about this work. Okay, now for the box corners, what we wanna do, we've got our bottom edge, super simple. I kinda like to flatten it out. And then we'll make sure I have all of my layers flattening out the same. And then what we like to do is I like to line up. Making sure all my layers are flat. And it might be pretty hard to see, but I have the seam from the liner, the gingham, and I have the outside edge here lined up. Okay, I've made sure that everything on the interior is set so that all of the liners and everything are flattened, pushed where they need to be. I actually like to do this with a pen, a Sharpie, and we're going to come up 2.5 inches from this tip. So I make it 2.5 inches, and I literally run this And I'm looking at the line, the seam, and everything because I want it to be really square. I really want a nice box corner. And then I'm going to draw myself my line across there. That becomes my sewing line. Because that edge guide is set at 1/2 of an inch, it's not in my way. But I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to come over. I'm going to back stitch again. And I always run 2 layers when I box a corner. Some of you will choose to cut that edge off. That will make now a raw edge inside the bag, so I'm going to leave mine there. Just creating a secondary row of stitching, a safety stitching. Now the second corner is often even easier to get a hold of because the first corner has set the pace for us. I do have that liner in there, so I want to make sure I have each fabric where it belongs. Grabbing my corner, feeling with my finger and my thumb, my seams lining up. Okay, we're just going to come up here that 2.5 inches. Draw your line. Whoops. Good thing it's the inside of the bag, right? I'm just teasing. It's not going to look sloppy when it's done. And the second row of stitching again. All right, perfect. Okay, so now we have our box corners in, a little like ears and stuff. Okay, now we can turn our bag right sides out. How cool is this, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the exterior of the bag down to that point, that 4.5 inch mark. So it basically creates about a 2.25 inch casing across the top. And now what I want to do, let's go ahead and just move our edge guide out of the way. Now what I want to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to top stitch this edge right along here to create the casing for the bag. I'm back stitching a few times to really secure those threads. Then I'm just watching my presser foot ride right along the edge of that top stitching there, of that top seam. My thumb and finger have been holding the other edge I needed right where I've needed it, on the other side the whole time. Couple back stitches. We'll do the same to the other side. Awesome. Okay, loving it. Nice big bag, super good looking, secure, pretty. Okay, now we do need to make our ties real quick. They were very simple. I've made one while you weren't looking. I'll make the other one while you are looking. So, oops. What we're gonna need is 44 inches long by 2 inches wide, right? 44 inches long, 2 inches wide. This is the finished version. What I have done with it, and I've already done this one, is I've pressed it in half once. Now as I go over to the ironing board, I'm going to begin to get ready to press it in half a second time. Or I shouldn't say in half. I'm going to fold those edges inside of each other to make a little tunnel so we have no raw edges. So while I'm doing that here, I've gotten in this habit. I like to start, but then I also want this raw edge to come in finished at the top. So I'm going to actually fold down roughly 1 inch worth of the raw edge at the top. Now set the fold to the interior middle line. And we're just going to do that across the whole piece. You can see I've got a lot of steam in the iron right now. That is helping considerably. Set that in a hurry. I'm down here finishing off the other outside raw edge. Now pressing the other one in. Other side in. Just get it close to the middle. Actually, try not to get it to touch in the middle, because if you do, it's going to make it even a little bit more bulky, a little bit more difficult to fold. And then you can either take the time to press it one more time and see if that helps, or do like I do and just come right over to your machine with all of the raw edges tucked in. We're going to do some more top stitching, so I'm right along this edge. And I'm just going to let this tie just pull through my fingers while securing both sides together. I'm trying not to do any pulling or tugging, not water skiing behind this trim because I don't want it to get curled and odd. You can see here a little bit better close up. Everything's folded to the inside. Beautiful. And as I come into the end, I'm just going off the end. I'm not going all the way around the corner. Back stitching to secure, and that is set. Okay, so the next tool I had hidden behind the sewing machine is a very large safety pin. I think you know how I'm going to use this. I'm going to slide it in just for a little bit better grip, and I'm going to go ahead and use that as I go through now one side of the casing and out, back through the other side. Don't pull too hard. You don't want to pull this loose end through. Nice and slow. Then we're just going to set an overhand knot. I like to take a moment, make sure my casing hasn't gotten a bunch of twists in it. I keep calling it the casing. I'm sorry. The trim. The tie. I want to make sure the tie doesn't have a bunch of twists in it and it feels good as it goes through there, which it does. So then I'm going to take both edges together, loop it around my thumb, push them through, grab them, and leave my little knot. Of course, I'll tidy up those loose threads later. But now I have that secured on this side, correct? So because it's on this side, now I'm going to take my safety pin and we're going to start on the other side because we're going to put two ties in here. Like I said earlier, these bags are great practice sewing projects because really, if you think about it, we did box corners, we made a little tie, we did some patchwork, we did some liner, we did some right sides together stuff. There's a lot of good little sewing tricks that you can really work with. So maybe if you have somebody you want to teach some sewing down the road, this would be a wonderful one. And like I said, we have a free pattern for you at themichaelmillerfabrics.com. Okay, we're even playing with this and making a really cool bag to use for panels if you have panel fabrics. Okay, one last time, grab those little bad boys, twist them, tie them, and you are all stitched up, done, ready to go. And I promised you it would be that easy that when you started the video, this thing was hanging as patchwork on the wall, and now it is a super cool, totally finished, awesome patchwork tote bag. I absolutely love it. I hope you were able to stay with all of those steps. I know some of them might have taken a little bit longer, but that's why I give away the prizes at the end of the video to keep you sticking around. So if you've never done this before, we are going to, in a second, draw the question out of the mystery box. Really quick, what I want to show you what I'm going to do is I am going to send 1, 1, 1 and then I'm going to add in the slate. So each of these are the prizes. So I'm going to give one of these to a quilt shop, one of these to a lucky winner at the on Friday, basically what I'm trying to say. I'm going to send you Ann Shaw's wonderful pattern. The quilt shop is going to get 3 of Ann Shaw's wonderful patterns that they may use for classes, merchandise, whatever they want to do. It's just a gift and our way of saying thank you for being part of the family at Michael Miller. Thanks for being part of the fun here at Making It Fun. Thanks for answering the mystery question. Here we go. No wrong answers, just lots of fun. What do we got? I'm opening the box. I'm not even messing around. I'm pulling a card just like that. What do we have? Ooh, this is a very good one. And I just got a little rumbly in my tumbly, so I think it's time to move on to the honey pot. Okay, question. If you could redesign the food pyramid without any dire health consequences, how would it look? The next beautiful quilt design will be your modern food pyramid designed any way you like it. Tell me what's on top. There is no wrong answer, like I said. And yes, there is bonus points for dessert first, of course. You know I love to eat and you know I love to quilt and I love to try to entertain you all right here. We will see you next time at Making It Fun. Adios, amigos. That really is a good question. I think you're going to enjoy this one. I'm glad to see you're still there. Hey, if you insist on spending all day on YouTube, great with me. Please check out a few of my other videos. I think they're fantastic. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified. We'll see you next time for another helping of fun.